If you're just starting out on your deadlift journey, it can get very easy to get overwhelmed. We have a whole ton of options out there, from sumo deadlifts to trap bar deadlifts, and it can get very easy to get lost on where to start. The truth is, if you're just starting out with deadlifts, you want to skip all those tools and we want to come to something a lot simpler. We want to grab a pair of dumbbells and we want to master the Dumbbell Romanian deadlift. Now, the Dumbbell Romanian deadlift is the best option for you if you're a beginner, but it's also a lift that can carry you throughout your fitness journey. So I do all those other variations of deadlifts, but the Dumbbell Romanian deadlift is a mainstay in my routine because it's a move that I can inject into my workouts on days when I'm not doing trap bar deadlifts. That way I can continue to get stronger, I can work on my form, and it's gonna teach us a variety of things. We're still gonna hit the same basic target muscles that we hit on all of our other deadlift options. That means our hamstrings and glutes are gonna get a ton of work. Our core gets a ton of work because we really have to stabilize. Our grip is gonna get a ton of work from having to hold heavy weights for a sustained period of time. And our mid back is also gonna get a lot of work because it really has to stabilize us and stabilize our shoulders and take a lot more work than some people think. All you need is a pair of dumbbells, and then you can get into the Dumbbell Romanian deadlift. The Dumbbell Romanian deadlift winds up having two main strengths compared to our other deadlifts. The first one is a basic Romanian deadlift strength. It's going to be highly customizable. So you're only going to go down as far as you can. You don't have to pick it up from the ground. You don't have to lower all the way to the ground. And that's going to accommodate if you have any mobility restrictions or if you're just learning your form. We can work on pushing our butt back and really owning our hinge in this deadlift instead of focusing on picking things up from the ground and lowering all the way down to the ground and letting our form get sloppy because we're working in a range of motion that we're just not ready for. The second strength is going to be the position of the load. When I'm doing any of my barbell deadlift options, the load winds up ever so slightly in front of my torso. And because of that, we wind up challenging the lower back a lot more. Now, that is not a bad thing. And as you get better at deadlifting, it is a challenge worth taking on. But if you're a beginner, we want to protect that lower back, focus on pushing our butt back and working on our hinge. And you really get to work on that because we can keep the dumbbells so close to our shins, and that winds up being a really safe and natural position where we can start to work on our form and we can still get all the deadlift benefits that we're getting from any of our other movements. So how do we go about doing our Dumbbell Romanian deadlift? The key thing, and the first thing I want you to think about when you set up, is not picking up the dumbbells from the ground. As we get heavier with this, that becomes the biggest challenge. The whole point of the Romanian deadlift in general, and specifically the Dumbbell Romanian deadlift, is that it is customizable. So you don't want to have to worry about getting down to the ground, especially if we're picking up 110, 120 pound dumbbells. You don't want to have to worry about lowering all the way down to the ground and worrying about that. So the first thing I want you to do, whatever dumbbells you're using, we want to put them on a bench, a box, something like that. That way we can pick up nice and easily and we don't have to waste our time on that. From there, all we're going to do, obviously we're going to pick up the dumbbells. I want you to think about keeping them close to your sides. Think about keeping your shoulder blades back, squeeze your glutes, and keep your abs nice and tight. Once we're in that position, we want to have our feet about shoulder width apart. You can keep them kind of in a natural position. All we're going to do on this Dumbbell Romanian deadlift, I'm thinking about keeping the dumbbells super close to my shins as I do this. I'm going to push my butt back as far as I can. I'm trying to basically shut a car door or hit a wall behind me. Lower my torso as far as I can, thinking about getting down to about a 45-degree angle. Pause at the bottom for about a 1 count, and then we're going to stand back up and squeeze our glutes. So nice and simple. The key thing with the Dumbbell Romanian deadlift is it is about the eccentric as we're lowering down. We get to focus on that. So think about taking your time as you lower down. I'm almost thinking 2 seconds down, push my butt back as far as I can, lower down, hold for a split second at the bottom, and then stand up and squeeze my glutes. The key thing with this is not going too far down. A lot of people wind up thinking on their Romanian deadlifts that they have to keep lowering down, but all that happens, the reason I want you to think so hard about pushing your butt back is once my butt starts going back, if I continue to lower down, the only way I can lower down, if this is my range, if this is my range of motion, if that's my hip mobility, the only way I can continue lowering is by moving at the lower back. And we don't really want that. That's not the purpose of the movement, and there's no purpose in continuing to go down there. So once you can't push your butt back any farther, That's as far as you've gone down. Hold for a split second there, and then stand up. The key with this winds up being that eccentric. We want to think about 2 seconds on the way down, breathe for a second on the way up, and then stand up fast. Squeeze your glutes as you stand up. We want to avoid overarching our back at the top. We just want to stand up and get that really, really good glute squeeze. Now, as you get heavier in weights, you're not going to be able to go down as slowly, and it's going to get harder and harder to live in that bottom position, but the key is still intent. We always want to take our time as we lower in our Romanian deadlifts. So think about fighting as you go down. Even if you're doing 100, 110, 120 pound dumbbells, think about fighting the weight as you go down. That way you're lowering slowly. You're still going to try to pause at the bottom, and then you're going to stand back up. One of the strengths of doing that, and one of the strengths of the dumbbell Romanian deadlift in general, is that because we're taking our time, you have to really be mindful, and you get to learn to be mindful of maintaining core control. That's going to carry you once we get into our heavy trap bar deadlifts and our barbell deadlifts and our other deadlift options. That winds up being the dumbbell Romanian deadlift. And again, this is a lift that is meant to be heavy. It is meant to be one of the strongest lifts that you are doing in your training period. So you want to target, no matter where you're starting, whatever the heaviest dumbbells are in your gym, you want to target working up to those over the course of time. That could be a couple months, that can be a couple years, but you should be able to take this lift heavy. In terms of reps and sets, you want to think of doing 3 to 4 reps of 6 to 8 reps. Keep the reps on the lower side. That way we can focus on controlling our way down. You can focus on time under tension. You can focus on mentally thinking 2 seconds down, fight to own that negative, pause at the bottom, and then stand up. Again, once you get to those heavy dumbbells in your gym, that pace is going to naturally speed up, but it is about intent. It's about thinking and fighting to take your time instead of rushing through the lift. You want to really set the stage for a very strong trap bar deadlift and a very strong barbell deadlift in the long run. This is a lift that should be in every single person's routine, whether you are an athlete, whether you are a bodybuilder, whether you just want to get strong. This is a lift that is going to support all of those things because we're training so many muscle groups. We get to go heavy, we get to pile up a ton of time under tension, and we're working our grip, we're working our back, we're working our legs, we're getting strong in all the places we need to be. So if you want strength, and if you want to start mastering the deadlift, start here. Never quit doing this lift. You will do it for your entire life. It's going to make you tremendously strong.